Good morning. We have got to talk about jail calls, primarily the temptation of these jail calls and the danger that comes along when people are in jail using the phone because that's the only way to communicate with the people that they love. All right, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about someone gets arrested, right? They're in jail. Maybe they just got arrested. Maybe they've been there a long time with bond denied. Who knows? But what we know is we've got someone who is completely cut off from their support system, from their family, from their friends, from those that they love, from people that they look to for advice and counsel, right? So maybe it's somebody young and they've been charged with a crime and they want to talk to their parents, right? The natural thing to do. I cannot wait to get my first phone call. I'm going to get on there. I'm going to ask my mom and my dad, what should I do? Mom and dad have never been through this. They're asking me, well, what happened, son? What happened, daughter, right? There's a great temptation, a great emotional and psychological need when you're dealing with a stressful situation like that to talk to the people that you love and trust. However, there are great dangers with doing that in the context of a criminal case. Why? The answer is because prosecutors and law enforcement record every single phone call that is placed from that jail. Okay. They listen to all of them. There are investigators and prosecutor and law enforcement officers whose job is to listen to these calls. All right. How does that play out? Well, typically, let's say someone is denied bond. Maybe it's a murder case and they're sitting in jail for a year plus, waiting on their trial, their day in court. The lawyer can tell them all they want. Stay off this jail phone. Stay off this jail phone. Very rarely does someone actually listen. Okay. And here's what happens. In the weeks leading up to their trial, as the prosecutor's attention turns to this case, to this murder case, or whatever it may be, they start going through the jail calls. They're going to look at the calls placed shortly after the arrest. They're going to look at calls placed after bond was denied, or after a preliminary hearing, or after motions dates, okay? That's where they're going to start. But they're going to end up listening to all of them. They're going to send them to the lawyer, okay? And here's why it's so dangerous. If you're in jail for a year and a half, 2 years, you may place hundreds of phone calls. Your loved one may place hundreds of phone calls. And it only takes one clip, 5-10 seconds to completely sink your case. Even if it's out of context, it's very difficult to combat that. Because listen, you may have a week or 2 week long jury trial, and jurors, frankly, get bored during that trial. But when a prosecutor plays a recording of a jail call, the jurors sit up, they listen, they start paying a little more attention than they have in the past. One place, if you've never listened to the Serial podcast, it does a great job of you can hear those jail calls, you can hear the intro music. Jurors recognize that, and they may go through a whole trial and not hear from the defendant, and the only thing they may hear from a defendant is the jail call, so they're listening. And all it takes is one flippant comment or one thing that could be taken as an admission. And those jurors are going to hear that and they're going to write that down and they're going to remember it, and they very well may convict somebody for it. Okay. The jail calls are damning. And listen, we have argued against the usage of these jail calls, saying that recording those calls is a form of like a pretrial punishment that should not be imposed on someone. We got 18-year-olds in jail, can't talk to their mama and daddy about their case without the prosecutor and the government listening in. And it's really, really not fair to them, right? It doesn't give them the same chance to counsel with people they care about what to do with their case, whether to go to trial, whether to plea, than it does someone who has the benefit of a bond, all right? So I say all this to say that technology and Big Brother kind of monitoring and listening is an important part in criminal cases. It rears its head tremendously in the scenario of jail calls being recorded. Lawyers, any lawyer worth their salt is telling their clients, stay the hell off the jail phone, right? Tell your mom and daddy you love them, but don't talk about your case, okay? And people don't listen. Right. And there's nothing we can do about that other than, really beat it into their brains. You can't talk on this jail phone. The prosecutor's listening. Some people will listen, some will not. But it is very important just to know why we say that. And we say that because that clip will get played at your trial. And no one goes into the calls planning to say something that's going to be taken out of context. But like we said, when you've got hundreds of calls, let's say, if you're making 3 calls a day for a year, 2, 3 years while you're in jail waiting your trial, we're talking about thousands of phone calls, and a 5 or 10 second clip can be used to try to sink your case and send someone to prison for life. People need to be really careful. It's not just people that are in jail, it's the loved ones on the outside, right? That maybe they're saying stupid stuff that generates a response from the person in jail. Jail calls, very dangerous. It is one of the prosecutor's favorite tools, and defendants must be vigilant in protecting themselves and not creating evidence against themselves. And like I said, we're not even talking about the situation of admission here. We're talking about something that can be taken out of context. Jail calls, very dangerous. There are a lot of people doing lengthy prison sentences because of things that they said on jail calls, and that's a promise. Be very careful on the jail phone. Don't make prosecutors' jobs easier.